Everyone assumes Megalodon was the baddest thing to ever patrol the oceans, the ultimate apex predator, the undefeated champion. If it's massive and aquatic, it's probably Megalodon poster child of prehistory. But what if I told you the actual ruler of the ancient seas wasn't a shark at all? What if the true apex predator was something so brutally engineered that it could make Megalodon look like an overly confident goldfish? Take a deep breath. We're diving into the prehistoric deep to meet the predator that didn't just bite. It grabbed, held, and tore the ocean's giants to pieces. Imagine yourself descending through cold blue layers into an ocean that no longer exists. Light fades. Water thickens into shadow. Somewhere in the murk, a colossal shape glides past like a moving building. Silent, purposeful, completely indifferent to whether you survive the next 10 seconds. In our collective imagination, that silhouette is always Megalodon. It's basically the Hollywood A-lister of paleontology. Movies, memes, clickbait thumbnails, the occasional panic attack during open water swims when you remember you have an imagination. The internet's elevated Megalodon to default status. See something large and aquatic? Congrats, it's Megalodon now. Chunky mackerel in murky water? Baby Meg. Suspicious shadow near a boat? Megalodon confirmed, obviously. But here's the reality check. In the fossil record, being famous doesn't automatically make you the final boss. Sometimes the spotlight blinds us to what's lurking just beyond the frame. And to be fair, Megalodon earned the hype. Estimates typically put it between 15 and 18 meters long, depending on which reconstruction you trust and how conservative you're being with fossil evidence. That's not a shark you spot, that's a shark you experience. Compared to a 1.7 meter human, encountering one would be like facing a submerged bus that's decided your entire species looks snack-sized. Some reconstructions suggest a head around 4.5 meters long, a towering dorsal fin, and a tail powerful enough to turn the ocean into its personal treadmill. Megalodon wasn't just big, it was precision engineered for killing, streamlined body, a mouth designed for slicing through thick flesh, and teeth that looked like someone thought overkill was a warm-up round. But legends flatten details. Megalodon wasn't everywhere, and it definitely wasn't invincible. Fossil evidence shows it strongly favored warmer and temperate seas. There's solid reason to believe it used coastal nursery areas, safer, shallower habitats where young sharks could mature with slightly less risk of becoming lunch for something even worse. Yes, even baby sea monsters need daycare. Here's a fascinating detail. There's been serious scientific discussion about whether Megalodon and some large sharks possessed regional endothermy, the ability to keep parts of their bodies warmer than surrounding water, boosting power and endurance. If true, it explains the sheer athleticism of such a massive predator. But it comes with a cost. High performance burns fuel. A predator like that doesn't just need food, it needs a stable, productive ocean constantly feeding the engine. Think of Megalodon like a supercar. Gorgeous, intimidating, built to dominate the highway, but you don't take a supercar into a muddy field and expect success. When climates shift, ocean currents reorganize, and prey availability changes, even the biggest hunter has to adapt or disappear. As seas cooled in some regions and marine ecosystems reshuffled, competition at the top likely intensified. Other large predators, ancestors, and relatives of modern great whites may have overlapped in prey and hunting grounds, especially as resources tightened. In an ecosystem, the apex position isn't a throne you inherit. It's a job interview that never ends. And the ocean has a ruthless HR department. Which brings us to the moment where we need to lower our voices, because this is where the story gets deliciously unsettling. Somewhere in the Miocene seas, roughly 12 to 8 million years ago, there swam a predator with a familiar outline. But the equipment was completely wrong, in the best possible way. Meet Leviathan melvillei, a giant predatory sperm whale named with a nod toward ancient sea monsters and Herman Melville's Moby Dick. This wasn't a gentle giant filtering krill or politely singing under moonlight. This was a mammal built for violence, an apex hunter that could plausibly go head-to-head with Megalodon in the same waters and, in some situations, make the shark's whole top predator routine look less guaranteed. Here's why. Megalodon was a specialist in cutting. Huge jaws, serrated teeth, a bite designed to slice through flesh and disable quickly. Leviathan was built to grab, and once it grabbed something, it didn't politely let go. Fossils suggest it had massive teeth in both upper and lower jaws, something modern sperm whales don't have for hunting large prey. Some of those teeth are estimated to exceed 36 centimeters in length with terrifying thickness. These aren't delicate instruments, they're structural. The kind of teeth you'd expect on an animal planning to bite something large, muscular, and capable of fighting back. Its skull could reach around 3 meters long, and as a mammal, it likely had tremendous neck and body strength to drive a bite, wrench, and tear, more like a grappler than a slicer. If Megalodon is a set of razor blades, Leviathan is a hydraulic press. Both are nightmares. They just ruin your day in different fonts. The differences don't stop at the mouth. Leviathan wasn't simply a big head with teeth. It belonged to a broader group of macroraptorial sperm whales, predators that hunted large marine animals during the Miocene. Fossils linked to this lifestyle show up in multiple locations, suggesting these whales weren't limited to a single tiny corner of the world. The star specimen comes from Peru's Pisco Formation, an extraordinary fossil region preserving an entire ancient marine community, like a snapshot of a lost ocean. But the wider guild of large-toothed sperm whales appears to have had broader reach. Translation: this wasn't a one-off oddity. It was part of an era where the seas had multiple heavyweight predators sharing the same stage. Now, do we have footage of Leviathan and Megalodon squaring off like some prehistoric pay-per-view event? Sadly, no. The Miocene didn't have drones, but we can still reason from anatomy and ecology. A giant shark typically hunts with speed, ambush, and a devastating bite, causing catastrophic blood loss. A giant predatory whale could combine speed with sheer muscular control, lunging, clamping down, and using body weight and momentum to wrestle prey. That matters because the ocean isn't just about who bites harder. It's also about who can control the fight. A shark can inflict horrifying damage, but a powerful, warm-blooded mammal with a massive skull and grappling teeth could potentially dominate certain encounters, especially if prey is large, mobile, and worth holding rather than simply slashing and retreating. Then there's the ecosystem effect, the part where you realize apex predators don't just eat things, they reshape entire food webs. Imagine coastal Peru today. Dry desert, sun-bleached landscapes, wind. Now rewind millions of years, and that same region becomes a thriving sea filled with whales, seals, fish, and predators stacked like layers in a living pyramid. The Pisco Formation preserves bones scattered like punctuation marks across deep time. Whale skeletons, shark teeth, marine birds, an open-air archive of ancient violence. In ecosystems like that, a predator like Leviathan isn't merely a hunter, it's a signal. It changes where animals migrate, how they group together, which species can afford to be bold. Sometimes the most powerful creature in an environment isn't the one that kills the most. It's the one that makes the entire ocean nervous. There's also evidence in many fossil marine communities that carcasses became temporary feasts, attracting multiple scavengers and predators. A single dead whale can feed an army. Sharks arriving in waves, different species leaving different bite marks, a rolling sequence of guests at a grim buffet. In a world with giant predators, those events were probably common, and the first attacker, often the true heavyweight, effectively sets the table for everyone else. So even without imagining a dramatic Meg versus Leviathan duel, you can see how both dominated their niches. Megalodon as the fast, slicing executioner, Leviathan as the grappling, bone-crushing enforcer. Two apex strategies, same ocean, different rulebooks. And eventually, both kings vanish, not because they suddenly got weak, but because the planet changed the game. Cooler climates, shifting currents, altered coastlines, and changing prey distributions can topple even the most terrifying predator. The top of the food web is a narrow ledge. One wobble in energy supply, and the whole structure shakes. Evolution doesn't do lifelong contracts, it does constant auditions. The Miocene's giants rose because the oceans could support them. They disappeared when those oceans became something else. So the next time you hear King of the Sea, pause and ask, King of which sea and when? Because beneath every legend is a fossil waiting to surprise you, and beneath every famous predator is another contender that history didn't bother turning into a movie yet. Now I've got to know. Are you Team Megalodon, the living blade, or Team Leviathan, the prehistoric grappler with teeth like demolition tools? Drop your allegiance in the comments and let's keep this ocean-sized debate alive.